Today, let us all learn about the basics of algebra. Algebra is a branch of mathematics that extends the range and power of arithmetic to include not just the constant quantities, but also the unknown or unspecified quantities. So, in this branch of mathematics, you will be encountering not only numbers, but also some unknown quantities, which will be represented by variables or letters. Now, to start, let's learn about an algebraic expression. An algebraic expression is a variable, a constant, or a combination of both, which may be related by any of the four fundamental operations, namely addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But what's a variable? What's a constant? A variable is a symbol or letter which represents a set of numbers, while a constant is a number that has a fixed value. So between the two, the variable is the unknown quantity, while the constant is the known quantity. So in this expression 4x, which means 4 times x, 4 is the constant, x is the variable. X here represents unknown numbers. In the same manner, negative 7a, negative 7 is the constant, while a is the variable. Now another part in an algebraic expression is called the exponent. An exponent is a symbol or a number at the upper right-hand corner of a variable, constant, or expression. This exponent tells us the number of times the base is used as a factor. So if I have 2 cubed, that does not mean 2 times 3. It means 2 is used 3 times as a factor. So that becomes 2 times 2 times 2. Simply, that's equal to 8. So in the expression 2/3 x raised to 5, 2/3 is the constant, x is the variable, while 5 is the exponent. In that expression, the constant is negative 23. The variables are a and b, and the exponents of the variables are 3 and 4. How do you read it? That is read as negative 23 a cubed b raised to 4. Another one, 4n squared minus 2n raised to 7. What are the constants? The constants are 4 and negative 2. The minus sign beside 2 suggests that 2 is negative. What are the variables? The variables are m and n, and what are the exponents? The exponents are 2 and 7. Now let's take this expression, y. Obviously, the variable is y. But what is the constant? In algebra, if you don't see a constant beside the variable, it is already understood that the constant is 1. What about the exponent? If you don't see an exponent, it is also understood that the exponent is 1. So let's take 5x minus y cubed. What are the constants? The constants are 5 and negative 1. Why negative 1? You don't see a constant beside y that suggests that the constant is 1. But since that's a minus sign, it means that 1 is negative. What are the variables? The variables are x and y. And what are the exponents? The exponents are 1 and 3. Which variable has an exponent 1? That is x. Now to repeat, a constant is a number that has a fixed value. A variable is a symbol or letter which represents a set of numbers, while an exponent is a symbol on the upper right-hand corner of a variable, constant, or to another concept in algebra which is known as the term. A term is a constant, a variable, or a product or a quotient of constants and variables. May I just emphasize the difference between a term and an algebraic expression. Previously, when we say an algebraic expression, we can relate using the 4 operations. But in a term, we can only use 2 operations, namely multiplication and division. Look at this example, 5m squared. This is considered as one term because if you expand it, that is 5 times m times m. I use 2 m's because the exponent of m is 2. You only see multiplication, that's why it is considered only as a single term. If I have negative 7x squared over z cubed, we can expand it as negative 7 times x over z times z times z. You only see multiplication and division, so that is again considered as a single term. In a term, you can see numerical coefficients and literal coefficient. A numerical coefficient is the constant factor in a term, while the literal coefficient is the variable factor in a term. From the word itself, numerical coefficient, we refer to the number or the constant. Literal coefficient, we refer to the letters or variables. including its exponents. So 5m squared, the numerical coefficient is 5, while the literal coefficient is m squared. It includes the variable m and its exponent too. Negative 8a squared b cubed. What's the numerical coefficient? That's negative 8. What's the literal coefficient? That's a squared b cubed. We include the exponents of the variables. If I have pq raised to 5 r cubed over 5, what's the numerical coefficient? It's not only 5, it should be 1 over 5. Why 1 over 5? Because you don't see a constant beside p. That means the constant is 1. But you see a denominator 5, so you need to have 1 over 5. What's the literal coefficient? The literal coefficient is pq raised to 5 r cubed. Now for your information, terms are separated by the symbols plus and minus, so that if I have one term, negative 8a squared b cubed, and another term, 5m squared, and I want to form a single expression, I will combine them, but we will use a separating symbol, which is a plus sign. So this is one algebraic expression consisting of two terms. So if that's the case, how many terms are there in 5a raised to 4? There's only one because you don't see separating symbols such as plus and minus. How many terms are there in x plus 3y minus 4z? There are 3 terms because we have the first term x, the second term 3y, and the third term negative 4z. How many terms are there in this algebraic expression? 6m raised to 7 plus 3m cubed. There are 2 terms. Okay, going back to our previous discussion, a numerical coefficient is the constant factor of a term, while the literal coefficient is the variable factor of. What is the numerical coefficient of negative 12a raised to 4? Answer is negative 12. What is the literal coefficient of negative 12a raised to 4b squared? That is a raised to 4b squared. How many terms are there in 4x cubed minus 2x squared? There are 2 terms. Now another concept in algebra is called a polynomial. A polynomial is an algebraic expression where the exponents of the variables are all non-negative integers. And when we say non-negative integers, we only mean whole numbers. Whole numbers include 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. So for it to be a polynomial, you look at the exponents of the variables and its exponents should only be whole numbers. Let's look at these examples. Is this a polynomial? Yes, because the exponent of the variable is a whole number, and that is 7. Is this a polynomial? No, because the exponent of the variable is a negative integer. Is this a polynomial? No, because the exponent of the variable is a fraction. What about this one? Is this a polynomial? Yes, because the exponents of the variables are whole numbers. So again, what is a polynomial? It is an algebraic expression where the exponents of the variables are all non-negative integers. Now there are different kinds of polynomials according to the number of terms, so that if there is only one term, you call it as a monomial. From the prefix mono, which means 1, there consists only one term in that polynomial. An example of that is 5x. But if there are more than one term, we call it now as a multinomial. Look at this example, there are 3 terms, so that's another multinomial. But under multinomial, when you have 2 terms, we call it as a binomial. 5x minus 3x squared is a binomial because of the prefix bi. While when we have 3 terms already, we call it as a trinomial from the prefix tri, which means 3. An example of that is 5x plus 2y minus 3x squared. So to summarize, if there is one term, you call it as a monomial. If there are 2 terms, that's a binomial. If there are 3 terms, trinomial. Let's use multinomial if there are already 4 or more terms. Now, what kind of polynomial is this according to the number of terms? It's a monomial because it has only one term. What about this one? It is a trinomial because it has three terms. It is a binomial because it has two terms. Lastly, it has already more than three terms, that's four terms, so it is now a multi. Let us now take these 10 item tests. Number 1. Which of the following is a fixed value? Number 2. What is or are the variables of negative 3m cubed n raised to 4? Number 3. What is the exponent to the variable in 4x? Number 4. What is the numerical coefficient of negative 4x cubed y squared? Number 5. What is the literal coefficient of negative 4x cubed y squared? 6. How many terms are there in negative 4x plus 2y cubed minus 3z? 7. Which of the following is a polynomial? 8. Which of the following is not a polynomial? 9. Which of the following is a binomial? And number 10. Which of the following is a monomial? Check your work. Number 1. Answer is constant. Number 2. M and N are the variables. Number 3. The exponent is 1. Number 4. The numerical coefficient is negative 4. Number 5. The literal coefficient is x cubed y squared. 6. There are 3 terms. Number 7. The polynomial is negative 2x squared minus 4x. Number 8. 3x raised to negative 4 is not a polynomial. 9. 3x minus 2 is a binomial. And number 10. 5xyz is a monomial.